You're listening to Permission to Shine, the podcast. Stories of overcoming obstacles and finding self-empowerment with Sharice Bisram, Inner Power Activation Leader.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 80. Now, if you're listening to time, this is all going to be connected to the new year, the new moon, and all of that. And if you're not listening to time, I'm pretty sure that what I'm going to share with you is going to be so relevant at any point in your life. So please do keep listening. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for listening for 2024. I think when I created the podcast 2 years ago, coming up now, I didn't have an intention that it would keep going for this long. Tell a lie. I think I did. I knew it was going to be something. But it really is a space that I really enjoy coming on and speaking about. And I love to see when you share that you've been listening, you share it with friends. I'm just really grateful because I think all of my business and everything that I do has come purely from my own lived experiences and my drive and determination to help and support people through whatever it is they're going through. And I know that so many of you resonate with my story and the trauma and the things that I've been through and have overcome and are overcoming, So I just want to say thank you, first of all, because I think 2024 for me has been a real roller coaster ride, and it's been really bumpy. And I would say that 2023 for me felt like I was sowing seeds, like it was completely new. I had no idea where I was going with my business, what I was trying to create. I just knew that there was something inside of me that had a higher purpose to what it was I'd been through and was healing through, right? 2024, I felt like I was going to reap the rewards from 2023. I kind of did a little bit, a little tiny bit, like I almost got a taster and then I almost fell back again and then had to get back up again. And there was a constant series of going back to come forward throughout 2024. And I'm sharing this at the beginning because I don't want this episode to be look at me and look at what I've achieved, because it's really not that. The whole intention for this episode isn't about that, but it is to tell you the honest truth about success, about, achieving your goals and dreams and what it looks like, because everything has some form of exchange, It's that saying that your new life will cost you your old one. And I've had so many ego deaths in this process, right? And an ego death is, if you think about an image of yourself, of how you appear to the world. So if you think about a mask that you put onto the world, when the mask crumbles, when you realize that the way you've been coming across, or that limiting belief that you've been wearing and showing to the external world, when that one breaks, that's when the true you gets to come forward. And every time you're shedding layers, it's that onion analogy, you're just peeling back the layers, and who you truly are is in the center of the onion, right? But you've got to allow yourself to get there. And I feel like onions probably aren't a great example because they're not really the most beautiful of things, but they're tasty and they make a great asset to any meal. So there we go. You're a tasty meal. You're not even a snack. You're a fundamental part of the recipe. There you go. But I think I'm going to start with kind of what my year looks like as an overview, just to give you an idea of what it takes to get to where you want to be, but also so you see yourself in this story, because it's not really about me and what I've achieved. It's about the hardships that I've overcome. And again, the podcast is called Permission to Shine, the stories of overcoming to find self-empowerment. And I could not have had a truer year to what this podcast was about. So if I go back to January, now, if you remember, those of you that were listening to time, I mean, if this might be the first time you're listening to me, but I've been single for a really long time in my life. I've dated people for short amounts of time, but never anything longer than maybe 2 months. So, and that's because of the trauma that I experienced that made me, one, not trust men, but two, I was heavily avoidant. I didn't want to commit. I was worried I'd be trapped or not be myself, not get to express myself fully. And I'd say that from sort of 2022, I was opening up myself to receive love and receive anything, to be honest, because where I've been so hyper independent, I'd never let anyone help and support me. And that's with all areas of my life. So 2022 was really that starting moment for me to soften. And I had a real heavy year in 2022 because the first half was lovely, but the second half was when I decided that I didn't want to be a dancer anymore. So there was lots of like shifting and like ego deaths that happened in 2022. The biggest one was I dated someone, I fell for them really hard. And then the second half that year was me just trying to figure out and heal through that. At that time as well, the North Node was North and South Node was in Taurus and Scorpio, which affects the fixed signs the most. And I'm a Leo Sun, Leo rising. So I got dragged through the end of 2022. And I would even say into 2023 a little bit as well. Um, but yeah, I'm going back a year, aren't I? So 2024, this year, gosh, I feel like we're already in 2025. I've like spread up, but I'm sure you know what I mean. So 2024, like the end of 2023 into 2024, I was in a relationship that was fairly new, to be honest. I think we met in November and it moved quite quickly, and that was all me, by the way, you know. I think I'd anything I set my mind to, I am all in, right? But in love, not really the greatest way to go about it. And I am very open and honest with the fact that love is something that isn't my forte. Now, relationships with people, understanding humans, yeah, my forte, can do it, can read people, yeah, absolutely. But this is where growth plays an amazing part, and that I don't know all the answers, right? But I know the answers to, you know, most things. I can figure it out. I'll find a way. But that's the ego and the soul battling, because we never really know everything, right? And I think that my whole life's journey has always been about the fact that I've had to learn it myself so I can teach it. And then I can teach it in the ways that make sense for the individuals I'm teaching or the group setting, right? So I feel like this was tests from the universe, which I get. And I do think it was the other person's tests too, because this is the thing. I think that sometimes, which I've done in the past, is make it all my fault. And it's not, right? And it's easy when you take accountability, but then you're shaming and blaming yourself. So in this scenario, I was definitely a massive part to play, but I also wasn't. And we get swept up with the idea. At the time, I think I was 32, turning 33 obviously in 2024. So I was thinking, oh God, my body clock is running out. You know, I wanted to settle down with this person. They're a little bit older than me. And I was like, yeah, great, I'm going to do all of this with this person. So at the beginning of the year, I was already projecting a future with someone that didn't quite sit right. So January felt like I was trying too hard. And what I've learned about myself is I've tried really hard my whole life, and more often than not, didn't get me anywhere, right? And I say that with a pinch of salt because it did get me somewhere. You know, I've got to where I wanted to be in my life, but that working too hard thing, which I've spoken to you about before, you know, if you've been listening, is that when you're trying, you are doing, which means you're in your masculine energy, right? Whereas when you are being and you surrender and you let go of the, guess what? Control, that word that we love. When you let go of that and you surrender into it, that's when you receive the most, right? And that's when you allow yourself to receive the most. But in any point where you feel yourself doing too much, that's when you need to pull back. And I fell into that cycle again, even in that relationship. And even at the start of the year in January, my bank account was just was stripped, you know, bare. And I think that a really important thing I want to say is that throughout the last 2 years in my business, I've invested about 20 grand into my business development, personal development, all of those things. So it gets to certain points where the money is at an ebb, you know, it's pulled all the way back. And then the surrender part of that would be to trust that it's coming back in, to take aligned action into what feels right and what feels in alignment of what I want to create. But the scarcity mindset, again, tries to control. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. So that beginning of 2024, and I'd say the whole first half of 2024 was really me repeating a diluted version of an old cycle, which is to be in the masculine. Okay. So in January, financially was depleted, and also in this relationship that wasn't quite working. Now, that person wanted to potentially end the relationship at the end of January. And that was a real key moment for me, because that then gave me clarity that I was in my masculine energy. So I did pull back, allowed myself to sit in my feminine energy, and the person came back within like less than a week. It's got a couple of days. So we ended up going away together, and that was really lovely. But on the trip, I did notice some things that I was like, don't know if this can sit right with me. And even then, I had to travel a lot to see that person. So throughout sort of that time, I was thinking, oh, this doesn't quite sit right. But is it just me because I've not been in a relationship? Is this normal? Is this what people do? So I was battling myself the whole time through this. And also in that time, good things start to come through because I start to surrender, right? So I've got this, like, I guess two halves. Like, one part of my brain was thinking, do I keep this going, push forward with it and just hold out and see what happens? The other half was thinking, oh, I don't know if this is right. But then in my life as a whole, that was when the universe started to present me opportunities. So I got into one of the schools, and then I got offered, I did my first event of 2024, which was really lovely. There was 13 women there, and one of the women recommended me to another woman, which turns out to be one of my clients now, and she lives in Copenhagen. So I was then able to deliver an online workshop in Copenhagen to a big company, which is amazing. I also then was in one of the schools, and I got to then do my program for the first time. And again, that was in pure surrender. I walked into the office, I asked the school, what are you doing for International Women's Day? And they said, oh, we don't want to do anything one off. We want something that's going to last a bit longer. And then I said to them, oh, like a 6-week program. And at the time I said I can make it 8 weeks. So I explained to them the program. They're like, yeah, sounds perfect. And it was that easy. So just to like give you a full circle there, everything in my life up to probably the last few years had been hard. I'd worked really hard for everything, and I just walk into the office and tell them what I can do. This is a reason why we need to tell people what they do, so then they can know about it, right? Because if no one knows what you do, how are they going to hire you for it? So that's a key takeaway there that I want you to remember. Tell people what you're good at and what you do, because otherwise, how are they going to know? They can't read your mind, right? And there's someone else that is less qualified than you telling people what they can do and taking that work from you because you won't own it, right? That's the number one thing that I want you to remember right now. So that starts to build. My career starts to then move in a really beautiful direction. I get a new client. I then get another new client. And I've also got the work in the schools now. So everything is moving in a really beautiful way. And then when that started to happen, I saw the decline in the relationship. Now, I have noticed, and I know there's a lot of you that are determined, independent, strong women that are listening to this. And I feel like this has been the karma. I wouldn't even say karma, it's probably not that. It's the exchange and the polarity, because equal amounts of light is equal amounts of dark in everything you do. There's always that half and half, the pendulum, the polarity. It always swings both ways. And with that relationship, I felt the same way that I felt with my old friends, is that some people like you better broken. And I think with unhealed masculine, they want to be the star. They want to be the most attractive, the most successful, the most, I don't know, all the things basically. They want to be the shining star. And I'd noticed over a period of time, like we were probably dating for about 6 months in total, but around this time it was like 4-ish, 5-ish months. And I just remember meeting some of their friends, and like the friends being so impressed about what I do, like on several occasions, and even going to a restaurant and like a woman in there just called me really beautiful, which was so nice and a beautiful thing that I experienced. And I just remember watching him thinking, he looks offended or something, because this is the thing, right? And I say this all the time, your light will cast a shadow on someone that isn't willing to be ignited by it. And that was exactly what was happening. And I could see it happening. And the very last weekend that we spent together, I felt that they were like, trying to second guess it. And it was their own conflict. They were battling themselves. I would have probably kept driving up all the way to where they lived over and over again if I felt like my needs were being met. But that weekend, I also said to myself, to the universe, I was like, if this isn't working, like let it go. And I actually said I'm not going to do that drive anymore. So that person would have to come to me if they wanted to see me. And then lo and behold, I get a text breakup. So that was a hard thing, but it also wasn't a hard thing because one thing that I've been really good at, I'd say, for the last 2 years is letting go. I fully trust with every part of me that the universe will remove the things, the people, the situations and circumstances that just aren't right for me. So that's the second thing I want you to remember is that the universe always has your back. And when you feel like you have to do it on your own, or no one's with you and it's all pushing against you, that is the time where you let go. Because if you keep holding on to it, it's only you getting burnt out, exhausted, resentful. That's a lack of your boundaries for your own self-worth. So that second point there is to surrender to the universe, let it go, allow what needs to be released. And again, use the moons. Use these cycles. I'm always talking about these lunar cycles, whether you're on my newsletter, whether you listen to my podcast, or just through social media, I'm always talking about it. And it's so important because, especially as women, we are attuned with the cycles anyway. We menstruate in a 28-day cycle. That's the length of the lunar cycle. So, it's in our DNA, it's in our nature. We're all connected to this. So, yeah, really make note of that, where do I need to let go? Yeah, let go of it. And yeah, so then fast forward kind of to the next few months, and I feel like I was hitting lots of like exhaustion and burnout again from being in my masculine energy. And I think that the breakup then moved my focus completely in my business. So instead of it being just, them and the business, it was now all in business. And then I hit the walls quicker because I was putting everything into it, all my time and energy. And that was also when I was still teaching at Pineapple. So I was kind of juggling like a relationship, a dance teaching still career, and then my this business now, right? The empowerment, the mentoring, trauma healing, all of that stuff. So there was three versions of me existing at once. Now I was always this version of me, but there's three strands, right? And you can't be everywhere doing all the things all at once. Your energy can only go to one place. And I've been very good at compartmentalizing my whole life. I think I've said to you all before that in human design, I'm a manifesting generator, which means I like to have multiple things on the go. But what I know for sure is I need them all to complement each other. And at that point, they wasn't. At the start, they absolutely was. But this is the thing. I saw something really beautiful the other day about relationships, and it's every healer needs a protector. Now, in my life, I've been a protector and I am a healer, right? So I don't need to be both anymore. I need to receive a protector in my life. That person wasn't it, right? To dump someone by a text after 6 months, I think tells you a story, right? But, no shade to them. They're doing the best they could with what they knew. I was continuing to grow throughout that 6 months. They wasn't. That cast that shadow, that's their problem. They got healed through that now, and I'm pretty sure they're going through whole cycles over that. Again, they're welcome. I made them help them grow, right? Um, but same for me, right? I've now learned what I don't want, where I was repeating old cycles and patterns, and where I was again trying to control. Everything is clearer now because of that experience, and I'm grateful for it. And then financially, in that time, money was growing and it was lovely. But what I know for sure is when you get comfortable in the space, that isn't always a good thing because then again you're being stagnant and you're not growing through it. So in June when I decided to give up Pineapple, I also decided I was going to stop teaching any form of dance. So that was a massive cut to my pay. Luckily, um summer I all of my invoices came in. So throughout summer I got to travel. I went to just in the UK, I went to the where did I go? Glastonbury, and had the most incredible time because I did nothing, you know. I was going where my intuition took me. The land is magical there. I have a whole episode on that as well. You can go back and listen to it. And then as September rolled around, and by the way, at this point, I have started to work with my new mentor. So I started working with her in June, and we were gearing up for our big speaking event in when was that? October. There we go. And I also held another event in that time as well. And actually, that event had less people because I did a weekday. And I think at the time, you know, and this is for anyone that's starting anything new, is that it's always going to ebb and flow. The numbers don't matter. The numbers don't matter because you're showing up for yourself. And when you show up for yourself, and especially when you hold events and hold space for people, there's such a layer of self-belief and self-trust that has to come into play that people are absolutely impressed by it. And it's not about other people being impressed by it, but it's for you to show up in that space as an authority in what you do. That's so powerful. And I love delivering this work. Like with it, I can do it at any point in time. Like literally now, if you watch the YouTube version of this, I'm in my hoodie, right? If someone called me up right now and said, "Can you just go live and talk about this?" I would do it. You know, there's no shame for me in anywhere about how I turn up because I know the delivery of what I'm delivering is going to make a massive impact in someone's life, and I'm proud of myself because of that. But that for me is because I live what I teach. You know, that's the integrity piece in what I do, and that's the same with these events. You know, every time I've done something, either hosted an event, a workshop, a class, a one-to-one client, you know, I'm always giving the best I can. And that's a really beautiful space to be in. So, you know, again, it comes back to that showing up as your full self. And actually, maybe that's point three is that when you know who you are and you stand in that firmly and you lead from that, beautiful things happen, you know, and everything is compounding. I say this all the time, like everything you do is just showing people how good you are at what you do and how you can help them, right? Because that's really it, you know, to anyone that's listening thinking that you know, it might not be that you want to help people, for example, but it might be that you want to do makeup. So you're practicing makeup all the time, you're doing makeup online, and you're showing that to your social media. That's all proof that you are really good at what you do. So again, that's why you have to keep showing it, you know, keep showing up. But more importantly, like to be a leader requires you to be rooted in who you are. Now, that's such an important thing. And being a leader is hard, you know, like I said, there's been ebbs and flows. And then this next second half of the year that about to speak about, September was really where I saw the money completely ebb out again because I'd had all summer where I didn't work, apart from one or two clients, that I then was in like this space again of a lull, thinking, oh gosh, when is the money going to come in, you know? And in that time, I then got offered to do the retreat in LA, because and then I paid like a really discounted fee for it because I delivered a session and it was really all beautiful stuff. But again, spending, spending, spending. But absolutely every bit worth it, by the way. You know, like I wouldn't change that experience because again, that was another point for me to believe in the universe really that anything I can achieve and have is possible for me, but it does require some sort of ebb and flow. So financially I did see that decline happen, but I know as a result of going on that retreat, more things have started to come in as a result, you know. And I did sign a client when I was in LA, which was amazing. So that was beautiful. So then that new thing came through as a result of me taking that risk. And that's the aligned action. Because that going to LA was, you know, so symbolic for me because I wanted to move to LA as a dancer. So then to go to LA as a, you know, inner power activation leader and intuitive healer, as I am now, gosh, it felt so beautiful. And there's something magical about LA for me, you know. I've been so many times and it always feels like home. I couldn't live there now, you know, it doesn't feel in alignment to live there, but every time I visit, I'm like, oh, it feels so lovely here. And I'm yeah, proud of myself that I did do that jump because then October came around again. I'm still in like this bit of a financial lull, but I did the speech, did the talk in Brighton, and from that, like amazing things have happened. And that was really where I feel like I found a sense of belonging, in the industry. I think that this space, this mentoring, coaching, personal development, spirituality space, it can be clicky, and it also can be quite lonely because obviously you're all individuals doing your own thing and all of that. And a lot of women still have that sister wound where they don't trust other women because they think that they're gonna talk about them or rah rah rah. And I've got to meet some really great friends from that space, and I'm really grateful for that, because that's one thing I guess as well that's important to highlight here, is that community is everything. And I think being in spaces where people really fully understand you, who you are completely now, not the version you were as at 13, or even like 10 years ago or whatever, the version of you now. And I think that only certain people will show up for you and grow with you. A lot of them only, some of the friends you've got might only know the old version of you. So then when they're referring to jokes and things like that, they repeat these old things because they're not growing, right? And it takes a lot of willpower and self-love to be able to let go of the people that aren't seeing you. And for me, I feel like, as you all know, that I've had a lot of times in my life where people haven't really seen me. And even in that last relationship, that was the same thing, like they didn't see me. They just saw their own shadow, which was a shame, but not a loss for me. So when I came into that space of speaking and actually meeting all these incredible women, something really magical happened for me, because I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be here, right? Here in this energy. But also, I saw very clearly what my niche was there. And I was like, oh, yeah. This fieriness, this star quality that I have quite naturally, and this natural speaking ability, these are all things I'm going to lean into so much more in 2025. And I'm really excited for that. So, if you are interested in, you know, standing in your leadership, as the woman that you are, owning your story and sharing it. That's something I'm going to be delivering this year for people. So I'm actually going to be doing something in January. So keep an eye on my social media and on the links in my bio on the podcast as well, because I'm really passionate about that. And it's something natural for me that I've been able to do. And I feel like that's a gift that I do want to share with people, because I think it's really important. So yeah, that space definitely gave me that. And then November. November. Scorpio season dragged me through the bush. It bit me, and I was on the floor waiting for an antidote. I was I was crumbling to the ground, and that was ego death, that was emotional death, that was reliving the past experiences, that was, feeling depleted in my soul financially. I had £15 left in my bank account at one point because everything had gone out, all of my bills, my last mentor payment, and everything else that I was paying out for had come out. And I was like, damn, this really is back to square one again, right? We're reinventing the wheel, basically. And gratefully, one of my clients came in, a new one, and she paid in full, which was lovely. And that really then skyrocketed my business again, up again. My visibility has been great since I did the Soul Speaks, which is such a beautiful event. There is another one happening in 2025, so do keep an eye out for it, because it'll be amazing. I'm not sure if I'm going to speak or not this year, but I'm definitely going to support the event in some way. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. And then also at the end of November, I got to go to the Wealthy Woman CEO event, and that was with my previous mentor, which was just so nice. And I think that was a full circle moment for me, because I'd finished with my previous mentor, well, the one that I had this year, and then going to that event with my the mentor before, it was just like I knew everyone there. Some of the women from LA were there, and it was just moment to take stock of like everything that happened this year. And the hard moments, now I think about it, really aren't that significant in regards to the way I felt about myself this year. And I feel quite emotional saying that, because I think that it's hard, right? Like doing business is hard, and it requires so much resilience that you only find when you're in it. And like Brene Brown always says, it's like when you're in the arena, that's when you can relate to the people that are in this space. Because unless you run a business yourself or you're self-employed, Do you understand the ebbs and flows of it? And I think something that I've struggled with is the fact that everything I'm doing in business comes from my lived experience and comes from my heart-led space. Like I haven't come from corporate or from a business background where I want to make sales to make money. I want to help people. I want to support people out of the darkness and into their light. I want to give people the tools to be able to live their life in an empowered and abundant way. I want people to wake up every day feeling the way I now feel about myself because I didn't feel that way for 28 years of my life, right? And that's why, for me, business has felt like a real tug of war at times because I'm trying to earn money but still stay in my purpose. And it's been a real dance. And I finally feel like it's starting to make sense, like working with those two mentors, actually three I've had this year. Um, I, oh, sorry, not three this year, three over the last few years. I really feel like I've noticed, yeah, just kind of how I can integrate and make it my own, and also from that event, meeting other soul aligned women and business owners that do it their way, and then having beautiful conversations with them because we've built up friendships. That's so powerful. I really trust myself more than ever in my business, and I really think that at the start of this year I felt like a bit of an imposter in business. Now at the end of 2024, I fully own it. I am a businesswoman. I'm proud of what I've been able to create. And do you know what? I've always been a businesswoman. I've always had multiple fingers in multiple pies. I've always known where my tax is and all of the things, which reminds me I need to do my tax return. But yeah, I'm proud of me. And I think that was my full circle for this year was, yeah, I've been in it. I've been showing up. I've been doing the work. I've been going to these events. I've been putting the work in, but equally letting go of the in-between stuff because then December, I got to deliver my 6-week program again in the schools to 2 schools this time round. And the feedback was phenomenal. The feedback from my clients, my one-to-one clients, has been phenomenal. I would say that December the month that everything came full circle. And I got to see the impact that I've been making over the last year. And just like random people just commenting and telling me like you're doing an amazing job, or I've been listening to your stuff, this is great. Any person that is taking the time to watch my content, listen to me, speak to me, ask me something, anyone in my energy, I'm so grateful for you because I feel like you see me, and that little version of me inside feels like that's all she ever wanted, but more so you seeing me helps you see you. And that's the most beautiful part of all of the work that I do, is that I create and bring up a mirror to you to see yourself fully. And if you are looking up to me thinking, wow, you're amazing, look all this stuff you've been able to do and achieve, I want you to do that for you. I want you to take stock of your year, what you've been through, what you've overcome, and what you've learned. And with that energy, you're going to create your intentions for 2025. And not as a new year, new me thing, but as a this is what I've achieved. So I can only imagine how 2025 is going to pan out, because I promise you, I feel it with every cell of my being that 2025 is the year everything shifts, because we've got massive astrological transits happening where things are completely shifting out of where they used to be into this new energy. We've got Pluto in Aquarius, and actually on New Year's Day, we go into the sun in Aquarius. I mean, come on, like, sorry, the moon in Aquarius, and then the sun shifts obviously a couple of weeks later. But this is really powerful energy. Everything's starting from the beginning again. This is a whole new book of energy that no one's ever been in before, right? No one alive has been in the age of Aquarius. And then we've got Jupiter's going to move, and there's some other big planets that are moving this year, 2025. So really set your intentions and think big. And then with this Capricorn new moon, and again, if you're not listening to time, you can still do this. Break one thing, like at least one step for every goal that you've got, every intention. What's one thing you can do towards it? So, for example, if you want a new job in 2025, can you start to sort out your CV from now? Yeah, your resume if you're in the US. If you want to lose weight, maybe it's that you start to do a more healthier shop, or you just chuck away all the sweets and chocolate in the cupboard or just eat it all before the time. Depends how much you got. But these little increments that you can start to put in place, that's what Capricorn is, the mountain goat, right? It's climbing up the mountain one step at a time. Yeah. So I say all of this to say that, and I'm a Capricorn moon, so I feel like that's definitely what this year looks like for me. But one really beautiful thing about this, to give you a pure example of what this Capricorn energy looks like, is I began my healing journey in 2020. I started to write down the prompts that I was using. And then in 2022, 2 years later, I created my journal. And then from there, a couple of months later, I started to deliver my workshops. And then they were just one-off ones, right? And then in 2023, I delivered my first 6-week program based on the journal to women. And then 2024 was the year I took it into schools. So there's been slow steps to get this permission to shine off the ground. And 2025 is the year that I launched the self-study, to which people can buy and have lifetime access to, and have these tools and practices that I've been teaching over these last 5 years and growing through and living through, and have access to it forever. And that's a real movement for me. And permission to shine very much is the all of me, but I feel like it's one part of everything that I do, but it's all interconnected. The podcast is called Permission to Shine for the reason. My book will be called Permission to Shine for that reason too, because it's who I am. I every day have to give myself the permission to shine, because I know how many people are watching me now, but more than that, that little version of me inside, she wouldn't have it any other way. Could you imagine if one day I was like, oh, do you know what? I'm gonna go to this party and I'm gonna wear something really boring. My little me would be like, no, you ain't leaving the house like that, girl. You look homeless 90% of the time. This is your 10% to shine. That's what I feel like I do. I store it all up. I store up all of the sparkliness. So then when I come out in full glam, it's all just a supernova of full outness, because it's all or nothing with me. Um, but yeah, I guess that's my summary for 2024 and 2025. So just there's some key points in there that I've mentioned, and it's just really important for you, like in whatever your life looks like. You don't have to be bold and, loud and unapologetically in people's faces like I am, right? But you do have to own who you are. There is no other way for you to create the life that you know you deserve unless you own who you are. And 2025 will be an incredible year for you if you decide to own who you are. And if you need guidance and support on that, drop me a DM, because 2025, like I said, is a massive shift year. So if you're ready to rewrite the story that you've had, and in fact, not even rewrite it, to celebrate it, to understand it, accept it, and release it, so you can rebuild the, next step of who you are meant to be, of who you truly are inside, given her that power to shine, then drop me a DM, because obviously this is my work. And yeah, in the notes right now, you're going to have access to the self-study if you want to have a look at that. And I am hosting a online workshop on the 22nd of January, and that's all about becoming the iconic leader. And I'm so excited about it, because it's the first time I'm doing something like this, and it really is that big, audacious energy. And it's not about you being loud and proud, like I said, but it's about you owning every part of you. So I'm so excited about that. And again, if you're interested in working with me just on a one-to-one basis as well, we can have a conversation. Just drop me a DM and we can just jump on a call and have a chat, and I can see how I can help you, because 2025 is coming and I'm so ready for it. I can feel this newness coming through, and it feels like a breath of fresh air, which is so fitting, really, because Aquarius is that energy, really, that air sign. So a lot of people think it's a water sign. It's not. It's because it's the water bearer, just to let you know. But anyway, I'm rambling on now because I just love you so much. I just want to talk to you all day. But happy new year. And technically it's not the new year, just to let you know, as a side note, the new year in nature is in spring. So if you're feeling a bit stagnant and like it's not really the vibe, set the intentions anyway. Set the intentions and just watch them bloom in their own time. Because right now, you're just sowing the seeds in the winter, in the hibernation. You're going to water them, and then in the spring, they'll grow. At least one or two of them, anyway. You're worthy, you're deserving, you're brave, you are enough. And thank you so much for being with me through, 2024. And I'm excited for 2025. This will be the last episode for season 5. So bear with me. I'll be back with season 6 real soon. Lots of love. Happy New Year.
If this episode resonated with you, please do like, follow and share with someone that you know would benefit. If you're looking to dive in deeper to becoming your most unapologetic, most authentic, shining self, please do head to my website and join my newsletter, where you'll find out about all of my upcoming events and speaking opportunities and all of the things that I have going on. And also, if you would like to work with me, please do drop me a DM on any of my socials or through my website. Love and light.